officially. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm joined by my fabulous co-hosts, Raj and Fab, and we're ready to dive into another Overcorrection Monday and recap a fun week of Sunday games.
Yeah.
So, like we do every week, we'll break down our winners and our losers, and we'll keep you up to date with important injury updates throughout the league. On our Monday episode, we also highlight the top waiver wire or FAAB targets to prioritize your upcoming week. So it's very important to be very strategic as the bye weeks are in full swing, as we saw this week. It's the time of year where you need to start thinking a week or two ahead, preparing yourself. Should you have multiple players on bye? And then let's not forget our Cut the Cord segment where we advise you on players to cut ties with, as well as getting ahead of the curve on some players before having to pay a premium. But before we start, like always, please like, rate, and subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcast, guys. It was really, really help us out in gaining more exposure, as well as follow us on all the social media outlets, X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube. We share daily content and keep you up to date with everything fantasy football. So, guys, nice little week 5 almost in the books with a nice Monday night showdown to come. Why don't we break down our winners and losers for the week, or should I say for Sunday? It was a pretty interesting week. Who do you have, Raj, as your main or big winner this week?
Yeah, I have two running backs who were kind of behind veterans in Rico, Dowdle and Tyrone Tracy. I'll start with Dowdle, 19.4 points. Finally felt like he took the lead back roll over Elliott. He outsnapped him 20-6, which was a 71% rush share. 20 carries, 87 yards, and a touchdown. I thought he looked quite good in that Cowboys-Steelers game that obviously finished at 1 a.m. So for those
brutal.
who were able to stick it out, but I think it was a pivotal game for him to kind of, especially for his fantasy owners were probably really patient with him. And I guess I thought he looked really good. 13-yard run. That was his longest run of the day. And that was the Cowboys' longest run of the season. So that tells you the struggles that they've had. The next 4 games, they have Detroit, bye after that, and then the Niners, Falcons, and Eagles, all defenses that I feel have been quite vulnerable to the run. So really good segue for him to kind of look better in the coming weeks. And then quickly, I have Tyrone Tracy. This one's a head scratcher because he looks so good, and he looks so good. I don't understand how he was only showcased after week 5, and then we needed a Devin Singletary injury.
Yeah.
14 points, didn't hit a touchdown, didn't really catch any passes, but 18 carries, 129 yards, 7 yards per carry, had a ton of juice, and it was a big Giants win, and I think he was a pivotal factor in that, and the offensive line played really well, opening a lot of holes for him. So I think that was a really good performance.
In Seattle, man. Like
in
on the
Seattle.
road in Seattle, impressive. Which was super impressive.
And guys, we have to give credit where credit is due. Daniel Jones played very well. It pains me to say it, but Jones looked good. The pass rush looked good. I don't want to make it into a Giants podcast, but it was a very good performance by.
I think Fab said it the other day. Isn't it? Broken clock is right twice a day. Isn't that what you said in reference to Daniel Jones? I think
I did. He's put up. I think the last 3 games we can say he's played well collectively. All 3 games. This was easily his best showing this year. I also want to give a lot of credit to Dable for the play calling and the head coach deserves a ton of credit because he's making things simple for Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones might be getting better as a quarterback from game 1 up until game 5, but I do want to give a lot of credit to the head coach because he took back play calling from last year, and you see a difference already. Compared the first 4 games to last year to the first 4 games this year, it's obviously the offensive line's a lot better too. But I think Brian Dable deserves a ton of credit.
And just on the other side, I know we're going through our winners, but how did Kenneth Walker get only 5 rush attempts against the Giants? How does this happen in a football game? As a but you we highlighted Tracy on how well he.
The I want to say
I
the
was
defensive
shocked when I saw.
line.
I thought the stat was incorrect when I
I,
first saw it.
I think they went away from the run. I think the defensive line
Yeah,
caused a lot of problems. Dexter Lawrence was a monster in that game, and
Burns
they were
too.
really rushing the quarterback quite a bit. They had the Giants lead the league in quarterback sacks,
Yeah,
which I was surprised about when I read that.
yeah.
Dexter
Very
Lawrence
nice.
is, I think he's on the short list to be Defensive Player of the Year after 5 weeks. He's playing outstanding, and that might have to do with it too. Because I thought that was interesting. Now it's a good thing you bring that up because I have Kenneth Walker in the league, and he didn't do much for me. But
No, I think it
I,
was 3.8 yards per carry,
yeah,
19 yards or something. It was he didn't.
Throwing the ball a lot with Gino, which I have him in the league too, in our Bush league, but they
And it's
threw
not
the
like they were
ball a lot.
behind a ton
No,
ever, right?
no,
That's what really surprised me. But
yeah.
that's a
anyways,
good point.
who do you have as a winner, Fab?
The Bengals are balling out, baby. Yeah, so despite the fact that they lost against Baltimore in overtime, if you have a nice Burrow and Chase stack after this weekend, you're laughing with a good possibly 80 fantasy points to your resume. Chase, 41 fantasy points, 10 receptions, 193 yards, 2 tutties. He is currently the new fantasy wide receiver one on the year. Burrow 392, 5 touchdowns, another 40 points. Since his dud in week one, he's put up about 115 fantasy points, which is good for fourth best amongst all fantasy quarterbacks. So definitely exciting times. T. Higgins too balled out, so you can really see that the Bengals offense, especially the pass catchers and Joe Burrow, they're finally coming into midseason form, which is kind of what you want to see if you invested in that offense. And looking at their upcoming schedule, nothing really scares you. Maybe Cleveland a little bit, but the Giants next Sunday nights should be interesting actually. Then you got Philly and Vegas and Baltimore again, so all defenses that they can definitely take advantage of. So the next 5 games should be something interesting too. And also, honorable mention Chase Brown. I think he is the guy to have in that backfield. He went 12 for 46 and he caught 3 balls with a touchdown. So he definitely outplayed Zach Moss. And that's something of noteworthy to take into account going forward. He might be the guy to have in that
Yeah,
backfield.
I think Moss got hurt too
he did.
at the end.
Oh, there
Moss
it is.
He
was
did, but
injured.
I don't think they deem it serious. But it's the same thing as Dowdle and Tracy. These younger backs should be playing more, regardless of whether or not the veterans
I think
are
this was the game
healthy or
for
not.
Tracy that we all waited for. There was a lot of talk about him during camp, and he was on a lot of sleepers lists. And I think this is listen. Singletary's still going to be there, but this
Yeah, that's
was
the problem. They're not
I
just
I
gonna.
had
I
I
don't
had
no.
think they're gonna push him
Tracy.
aside.
I was like, oh, I want to add him so badly. And when I looked in the transactions in Bush League, still couldn't believe no one added him. There was no one I could drop. Finally, Fab, you're gonna destroy me tonight, and
Oh yeah,
I didn't even need to pick up the damn Saints
but
defense.
thank you for fielding a proper team. I appreciate that. Thank you for fielding a full lineup.
I could sense the sarcasm.
No, I'm just saying, I don't.
I could sense the
Whenever I
sarcasm.
beat you without a kicker or a defense, and I said whenever I beat you because I have as multiple times, it's just I feel like it's not as fun as when you have a full. It's a cop out. But that's just my opinion. It's another conversation for another
I
day.
could have had Tracy, but I'm starting the
You still would
goddamn
have
Saints
lost even with Tracy.
defense. Oh my god,
Yeah.
You still would have lost.
what a
You're trying
waste.
to kid. Thanks for playing.
Well, my winner this week is gonna be Kirk Cousins and Co. So finally, Atlanta fans rejoice with the money they paid this guy in the offseason. He finally came to life. He threw the ball 58 times on Thursday night, which was insane, but he completed 72% of those passes for 509 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, we know he had a rocky start to start the year, but you could kind of tell his Achilles is still kind of hampering a little bit. I feel like you could tell on some of his throws, but he looked really really good on Thursday night, and him and London are starting to really jive and connect. He has 25 targets in the last 2 weeks. This week he went 12 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown. And then I think we mentioned it last week. Darnell Mooney found like his dream team. He
Yeah.
looks excellent in that
Yeah.
offense. He had 16 targets on Thursday night, uh, 9 receptions, 109, 2 touchdowns, and he could have had easily a third one had he not dropped that ball. So
Yeah, that
it's
wide open pass, that was brutal.
yeah, he just it
That was brutal.
came right out of his hands. But no, those are definitely the top options in that offense, and they're everyday must starts. And it looked really, really, really fun to have an Atlanta Falcons player not named Bijan or Pitts on Thursday.
It was also nice to have a Thursday night game that was actually entertaining.
Yes.
Like
Seriously.
it was a
I
really, really
agree.
good game. Like it's nice to finally have, and those teams are going to be fun to watch for the rest of the season. It looks like, right? Even Tampa Bay, Mike Evans is still getting it done, man. Week in, week out. Like it doesn't. Geez, like you cannot count him out every single week at all. Like he's still getting it done regardless.
I
Nacc, you didn't
agree.
mention Kyle Pitts, man. Actually, pretty good game.
Nacc, you said it best.
Did he have a really good game? Like
Kyle Pitts
In
needed.
Kyle Pitts standards, it's a very good game.
okay, in Kyle
It was
Pitts
a very
standards.
good game
The
in Kyle Pitts.
standards
In
are
anyone's standards, a very good game. But Kyle Pitts needed Kirk Cousins to throw for 500 yards to have a good
exactly
game.
like it's
Just context is very important. If you
the
want to,
guys to own are London and
Yeah,
Mooney
totally.
yeah,
and that's it. And
I
well, I
agree.
mean Bijan, they're just I don't know what it is. They just can't seem to get this guy going for some reason. Like there's just I don't know what's going on or how
I
to
don't
use.
think they
First of
want
all,
to.
they should
yeah.
have never
At that point,
drafted him.
I think that's it,
That's
Roger. You got it.
They
I know
don't.
you
They
got
don't
what?
it.
want
Sorry.
to. I think they like using him as in a committee backfield,
Yeah,
in kind of like the thunder and lightning type backfield where Algier is the the guy who punches you in the mouth, and Bijan is more of the change of pace back who plays on third downs and can catch out of the backfield.
And they like, and the thing is they had Algier before him,
He's
right? And
good.
like,
He's
he's a
yeah.
good.
5 yard per carry
Yeah.
guy. Like, what was the need to go out and get Bijan? Like, I'm just confused sometimes. These teams make questionable. Well, look, another one, Atlanta again this year. They go draft Penix when they just signed the quarterback to $180 million deal. But anyways, we could go on forever. I feel on these topics, but okay, that about wraps up our winners for the week. Raj, give us a loser for you this week.
I have the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen and the receiving corps. It was a disastrous day. Josh Allen was 9
Train
of
wreck.
30 for about 130 yards. It felt like the Josh Allen rookie year when he played a playoff game at Houston and he looked awful and we were wondering, is this guy ever going to be good? Look, I get it. His wide receiver core, they got rid of Stephon Diggs. They didn't really invest much in that position. But the telling sign for me is when Matt Collins, who is your leader in targets for the game, is also your freaking gunner in punt coverage. Like
Yeah.
that tells you how bad the wide receiver depth is. And I get it. Khalil Shakir is out. He's a quite good player when he's available, but they have too many guys who are of similar nature. Shakir, more of a slot guy. Curtis Samuel, more of a slot guy. Keon
I was gonna
Coleman right
say,
now.
let me stop you right there. Where
Yeah,
is
go.
Curtis Samuel? Like,
Yeah.
where is he?
I don't get it.
Nor to be fun.
And you guys
He's
remember
MIA.
Yeah,
I mentioned it
you
so
were a
many
huge
times. Joe
advocate on this
Brady.
guy.
Yeah.
It was Joe
Yeah,
Brady, the Joe
100%.
Brady connection
yeah.
in Carolina. We're not seeing it right now. So I don't know. Like you don't downgrade Josh Allen at all. Like not even close. Not even think about it. But aside from Shakir, I don't think there's anyone who's playable on this wide receiver corps. And quite frankly, I think James Cook is actually the best receiver in this court, and he's actually benefiting from this from an RB1, pretty much producing RB1. I think he's RB6 right now in fantasy, so it's really odd. And maybe just the last thing was there was like a weird play he got, like Josh Allen got hit, and it looked like he got concussed. Then they put some smelling salt in his nose. And then I don't even think he went in the tent, and he was
Yeah,
back
he
in the
did. He
game.
he did.
He went in the tent.
He
Okay,
We
was in
went
the
to the
tent
tent.
for a bit. He was out for a play or two. I think Trubisky took
Yeah,
over.
Trubisky came in.
I'm not sure how long. I'm not sure how long he was
yeah,
out there for, but they deemed he didn't have a concussion, and he came back in. Now, I don't know how extensive those are, and if it's
It's supposed to be
I
like
don't know what
the
the rules
third
are
party
in
neurologist or
terms
whatever it
of
is.
I don't know what the rules are in terms of the spotter. Like if the spotter doesn't spot you, do you have to go through like all the rings and hoops? I don't know. Who knows what they did in there exactly?
Yeah.
I don't know, smelling salts, whatever it was, but I guess they deemed they didn't have a concussion. It would surprise me if they
I
broke
think
rules because like they're very strict on this
I
stuff.
think it
But
was the hey, I'm playing Stephon Diggs. Like, I need to get the
yeah,
hell back
maybe,
in there.
maybe,
I need to get the hell
maybe,
back in there and not lose against Stephon Diggs.
maybe.
But yeah, that's my loser for this week.
Nice. Fab, I think your loser is staying in the same division.
Yes. Yes, the Jets are struggling, and I know Joel Namath doesn't. You could care less about the Jets struggling right now, but we can definitely, we definitely care about it because it has a
I
lot of
want to
fantasy
kiss you.
implications. Like the offense looks flat. I don't know about you guys, but like it's there's no pre-snap motion, there's no play action. Roger likes everything
Rogers looks old, man.
standing still and sedentary, and there's not a lot of movement. And it doesn't seem to me that Rogers and Robert Saleh are even on the same page. It's been difficult to watch. He doesn't seem to be um, vibing with his wide receivers. You see a lot of those typical back shoulder throws that he does that are just being like just basically being punted.
They're not looking
Um,
for it.
yeah,
Wide
like
receivers aren't looking
they're
for
not
it.
on the same page. They're not there yet, or at all for that matter. Like what you would expect to see between him and Devontae Adams is not showing up between him and Garrett Wilson, despite the fact that, Garrett Wilson got it done this week, but he needed 22 targets to get it done. Right. So, which is
That's
great
wild.
if you're a
That's
Garrett
wild.
Wilson owner, because he finally took off a little bit. He had a fantastic game, but
I mean,
22
on
target.
that point,
Yeah.
on that point. Now, let me ask you, Fab.
Mm,
If Devontae Adams gets traded to Green Bay,
yeah.
do you take Garrett Wilson down a peg, and does he pepper Lazard and Adams with targets?
That's a great question. I want to. My heart says no, but my mind says yes. Like it makes because I feel if Devontae Adams goes to the Jets, he's automatically the number one wide receiver there, and it's not even close. And then you're probably gonna have Garrett Wilson fighting for targets with Adam Lazard, which is ridiculous to say, but that connection that Rodgers has, he's gonna feel more comfortable going to his second option being Lazard than a second option being Garrett Wilson.
And the reason I ask you that question is because you did mention those back shoulder
Yeah,
throws.
exactly.
They made a career out of that
100%.
in Green Bay
Yeah.
doing that
It's
together. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
like so I think right away like he becomes definitely the alpha and hurts Wilson's value a bit.
Yeah, like you definitely have a legitimate argument to say that Wilson might become the fourth option on that team, even behind Breece Hall or Braylon Allen at some point, which is ridiculous. But anyway, that's a conversation we're gonna have if it ever happens.
Well, it should be in the next coming days, I feel.
Allen
Most
Lazard
likely,
is the WR. He's a WR20 this year. Garrett
Wild,
Wilson is
man.
WR16.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it's a lot of targets, man,
2024.
after the first few weeks.
But he's notorious for going to players that he trusts.
Yeah.
Of course.
He's his whole career has been like that, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's why even when he originally went to the Jets, didn't he have didn't Randall Cobb go to the Jets
Randall
too?
Cobb, yeah. But guys, that's what I was telling in our group chat. Like everyone talked about Malachi Corley during the pre-draft process, after draft process, that this guy, like, great player in the slot, perfect player for Aaron Rodgers. This is the type of guy they need that could just come across the middle. That's the issue they have right now. They're not trying to get any throws across the middle. Everything is on the boundary, on the outside, and it's very difficult. And Rodgers just isn't the quarterback that he used to be.
You know who Aaron Rodgers reminds me of a little bit? LeBron James. About how he controls the management of the team. LeBron James, and he controls the management of the team, and he wants his guys there to play the way that he wants to play, the way he wants to win, including the offensive coordinator and all that. And not to take anything away from LeBron James or Aaron Rodgers, but you can see how when it doesn't work out the way you expect it to, there could be a lot of dysfunction, as we're noticing right now.
That's a great comparison.
You got to figure, like, do you think Robert Saleh has any control on that team? I don't think so. I think it's Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett. 1,000,000%.
This is Robert Saleh's last year, right? Like, you gotta hope like this is his last year. Like,
yeah, I don't think he.
I do not like him as a coach, man.
He's a great guy.
He's a great coordinator.
Yeah,
he's not a coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I
agree with that.
I don't see it. I don't think he has command of anything.
Yeah.
He looks like a figurehead. He looks like he looks like an interim CEO until they find the right CEO. Like, that's what he looks like to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're talking a lot about the Jets. But let me just finish off my few points over here. They are throwing a ton, though. Yeah, a little bit. Sorry, guys.
They
Sorry.
suck. They
Stop!
suck. That's
They're
all you
already
do.
dead.
Give me 30 seconds. They're throwing a 10 though. Rodgers has 96 attempts in the last 2 games, which is good from a fantasy perspective. You know, like again for the wide receivers. The running game has been an afterthought the last 2 games. So they just don't look like a complete team. And fun fact, and I want to shout out Nick Boras, who actually posted this in the thread. So the Jets scored in weeks 1 to 5 last year. They scored 93 points. The Jets scored in weeks 1 to 5 this year 93 points. So even with Rodgers at the helm, besides Zach Wilson, you can see that there has not been any increase in weak points. Maybe granted, I think their record might have gotten better, but you know,
God, you sound like
Dysfunctional
Mike. You sound like Mike
organization.
Greenberg.
No, but this.
that's a
He would
compliment,
be.
and I'll take that. Thank you. That's a compliment. I'll take it.
Dysfunction never leaves, unfortunately,
No.
unless you make changes. And unfortunately, I think they have not made changes besides the quarterback. And
So that's
it's
my New
just,
York
Correct.
it's
minute
not
for the New
working.
York Jets. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll stay in the green. A player that everyone blew their budgets on last week, Mr. Dontayvion Wicks. 7 targets, 2 catches, 20 yards. Dud. Everyone thought this guy was the second coming last week. I was the one that I didn't agree spending that much on Dontayvion Wicks. This is Reed's team at the wide receiver position. And I know I took a page out of your book. Raj, volume does not always equal production. That's 2 weeks in a row that he's below 30% in target completion, or catch rate, should I say. And I just tried to warn everyone not to go all in on this guy and not to like go nuts. I think it's going to be a very, very volatile season for that wide receiver corpse as a whole. I think he's got talent. I think he's a good player, but I don't think you're trusting this guy week in, week out as a wide receiver 3 or flex. It's really Reed who's in there, and this they were missing Watson and Dobbs on Sunday. Dobbs was suspended. Apparently, he's not happy with his role in the
His
offense or
target. Yeah, you're not happy
something.
with his targets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he missed 2 practices, just skipped them, so the team suspended him. So yeah, that's my loser of the week.
Nacc hates him so much he's calling him Dontavious,
Yeah, I was gonna say
not
that.
Oh,
Dontavious.
Dontavian, you see
Get the
that? You see
get the
that? That's
man's
how much
name.
He's
I
like,
who
Get the
is this
man's
screw
man?
name.
this
You
You're
know,
guy.
right.
when those players like look in the back of their jerseys like who is this? Well, what's your name?
So
I don't even know you.
I agree, Nacc. Like, and for me, man, I need Puka Nacua back because I'm really struggling at that my WR3 spot. The discourse on Twitter, like, and look, I spent a lot of money on him, but there's so many people on Twitter today that are just like defending, like, oh my god, like, you know, you still should put FAAB on him, like, you know, he talking about his separation rate, talking about the number of targets he's getting, talking about that he dropped passes, like he dropped passes, like
Yeah.
you need to get just like wide receiver win rate is not going to get you fantasy points. You know,
No,
it's catching the ball
no,
is going to get you fantasy
yeah,
100%.
points. Having said that, I'm not giving up on him at all. I'm not going to drop him. But I agree with
no,
you.
no,
Like,
no, no,
this
no.
was
It's not
a
a.
big dud, and a lot of people were expecting more.
I don't think
He's
it's a droppable
No,
moment.
no
no, no.
It's
zero.
just that my point last week was they needed Love to throw for over 60 times in
Yeah,
order for him to get that kind of production. He had all of those targets, but caught less than 30% of them. And again this week, 28% catch rate on 7 targets. So they could throw him the ball they want, but if he's not catching them, we well, our goal here is to get fantasy points, right? Not to.
No, for sure. But I think, like, Nacc, I don't disagree with you whatsoever. If you're not catching the ball, you're not getting points, obviously. But he did out target Jaden Reed, and I think that's not nothing.
Did he outproduce him?
No, of course not. Well, that's why we're having this conversation. But
yeah.
he did out target him, and I think that's just something to note, right? I mean, he's getting, like, well, like it or not, what he's not catching. Okay, obviously you got to work on that. But Jordan Love is looking for him, and that
No
still
doubt.
counts for something.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And plus, like I said,
No doubt.
the other 2 wide receivers are both out this week, right?
Yeah, so
So
you would
he
you
had to throw to someone, right?
agree
And
100. Well,
He
he threw to Tucker Kraft.
he dropped like
yeah,
I think a 50-yard bomb like that. And again,
yeah,
it's not to make
Yeah.
excuses, but like just
Yeah.
you got to catch the ball. Like
1
it's
million
not.
percent. If you can touch it, you can catch it.
Yeah. So I
absolutely.
agree with it.
Well, that concludes our winners and losers for week 5. Can't believe it's already week 5 almost done. That's crazy. Just a few injuries to note quickly. Devon Achan went down with a concussion. The Dolphins are on bye next week, so I don't think they're not. I don't think he should miss too much time. Aaron Rodgers low ankle sprain. Uh, Actually, funny that they don't have a bye this week. Coming back from London,
They
they
chose
play
not
on.
to.
Yeah. Oh, you could
Oh,
choose.
Yeah,
they
they
have that
chose not to.
option? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah, who was I listening to? I was listening to a podcast today, and they said they chose not to have a bye coming out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they play on Monday night, so maybe
Yeah.
that's what they
Yeah.
got an extra day in
That
that
makes sense.
Was I
regard.
the only one who thought that he tore his Achilles when he went down?
No,
Ah,
I thought it was his
I,
I
knee.
got.
I
I
thought he
thought it
was
was his knee
done.
too.
I'm
I
like,
thought it
I
was
thought he
his
he's
was done too.
done.
Yeah. Well, he
they
went
were
down
going.
really awkwardly.
He's
Yeah,
done. Yeah.
It was
So
super
and
awkward.
he was on the ground for a little bit too. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was super awkward. The big one of the week is Nico Collins hamstring injury,
good
likely
boy.
to miss multiple weeks with the hamstring.
Yeah,
Depending on how bad it is, 2 to 4 weeks seems pretty
the
usually
coach
the
came out and
standard
said today
for.
he was day to day, and now he's week to week. So
Yeah,
that's
a
never a
day
good
changed
sign.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
definitely not
never
a
a
good
good
sign.
sign.
Aaron Jones as well had a hip injury. They do have a bye coming out of
Yes.
London, so something to watch there.
But injuries
And also,
injuries never linger with Aaron Jones, right? Like he's the healthiest running back in the league. Like they
Hey, he's
never
already
linger with him.
he lasted 4.5 games already, so that's a plus,
that
I
was
think.
pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good. And then Ramondre hurt his knee, but apparently came out and said he's
Yeah.
fine. So looks like he's probably going to play in week 6. So now we'll dive into our waiver wire and our FAAB for the week. So we'll start off quickly with some QBs that could be available or are available on the wire. We have Joe Flacco and Drake Maye. So quickly on Drake Maye, I know Roger, you mentioned something about the coach. You want to just fill us in what the coach usually does on Mondays?
Yeah, usually he's made it pretty clear the past few Mondays. I mean, since the start of the week that Jacoby Brissett is a starter, he was a bit more reserved, saying, "I think I've been pretty consistent in my messaging that every single day we're all being evaluated, and that's no different now." So going from Jacoby's the starter to being a bit more coy now. So we'll see.
So, I mean, with that being said, obviously right now Drake May 3% owned. I mean, in 2 QB leagues, I think he should be rostered now after just that. What are you looking to spend on Drake May this week?
It depends on how desperate you are. Like if you're looking at Drake May as a third quarterback, you have a lot of issues on your team. To be honest with you, like because yeah, I'm just being
Wow,
straight up, man. Yeah.
Jake
Like
May's on my team. If anyone who was listening last week,
I'm just saying,
I
like
listened to
you
my
got to
own
work on your
advice and ahead
QB
of the
depth, bro.
curve.
Like just it's great to be ahead of the curve. That's fantastic, but you can't expect a lot of production out of the guy. Like you can't. Like we saw
it can't be
how.
worse than Brissett. Honestly, he's
No,
looked
Yeah.
but
not great at all.
it's you might get some rushing upside out of him, but and if you have a little bit of fab to spend, sure. And if you need it, absolutely. But like I think what were we talking about? Like a few dollars, like five,
Yeah.
$10 maybe, because you need a quarterback, and if you're desperate because you got to put someone in that
Well, yeah,
starting
in
spot.
2 QB leagues, it's in Superflex. It gets inflated.
So
Yeah,
Obviously, this is one thing where you may not know who the starter is. So
no, but I'm concerned about him as a player starting in week 6 with that offense and with every the pieces around him. And like we've mentioned this before, like, yeah, okay, fine, throw the kid in there, but like how do you expect him to have some level of success that's not going to destroy his confidence going forward? That's my concern. But then again, I'm not Gerard Mayo.
So, to me, 10, like, this is a perfect ahead of the curve type of pickup where you get the guy a week earlier. Because to spend $10 on Drake May,
tough.
for me, I don't have a QB3. This is my guy just for bye weeks, and then I'm dropping him after, right?
Right.
So if you already have 3 QBs, 4 QBs, like move away, like move on. Like you
Yeah,
don't need to be spending
exactly.
money on this,
Yeah.
like at all.
And the Colts head coach actually came out and said that Anthony Richardson is the starting quarterback when healthy. That doesn't mean he's going to be back this week. which would really screw me heavily this week because I have Sam Darnold, who's already on bye. But I mean, if you are an Anthony Richardson owner and Flacco is available, what are you looking to spend on Flacco? And Flacco's looked um, far better than Anthony Richardson has by a large
Yeah.
margin.
So to me, this is a different scenario than Drake Maye, where Joe Flacco, I think this is the best he's ever played. Like I don't remember him playing this well with Baltimore. And we said it last week. Anthony Richardson's going to get injured again. Like I hate to say it, but he's either going to get injured again, or right now as he's playing, he is bench worthy. So this is more of a QB3, QB4 stash.
Yeah.
Where there's no guarantees playing week over week. But I think it's worth it if you have a QB3 that you don't like, or you need a QB4 and you have space in your bench. This is the one that's worth like 10% of your budget, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you have two quarterbacks that have buys later on in the year, and you can stash a third quarterback for like about a good 4 or 5 weeks until the situation develops and there's an opportunity for, there's other roster moves to take place. I don't want to say until Anthony Richardson gets injured, but this could be a good
Spade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never hope for injuries on players, though, right? But like realistically,
I really wanted to pick him up last week.
God,
but
I was worried about what you were going to say there. I really want, yeah.
Oh,
I
no.
really wanted to get injured.
No. I really wanted to him up last week, but I think 4 of my 5 bench players were out, and I just weren't droppable players, so kind of got screwed, and he did get picked up in our league. So, but I definitely agree with that. 10% for sure, and if you're an Anthony Richardson owner, you may have to overpay and use like 15 just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, that's the key one.
Okay, let's move along to some running backs here. Tank Bigsby had a huge day in week 5, almost 26 fantasy points. He out-touched, out-carried, and outgained Etienne this week. I know Etienne he came out with a little bit of an injury, I believe, in the game, but I think Bigsby, I think we could all agree he's looked like the better back this season. I don't know what's happened to Etienne, but I think Bigsby looks a lot better. What do you guys think?
I think it's going to turn into a committee again, and we're going to have a pass catching back and a rush first back. I think it's going to be just something similar we're seeing already with other running back committees. But if Tank Bigsby is on the waiver wire in your league, you are spending at least $15 on him. 15%.
He's only 23% owned in Yahoo leagues.
You got to pick him up, man.
Me.
Because you can also figure he's going to get goal line work now, right? There's also that as well.
Yeah.
I think Etienne is just going to be the third down back, maybe pass catching in the backfield, but Tank Bigsby might get that first and second down early opportunities and the goal line work, and that's really where you make your money.
So Doug Peterson came out and said that Etienne is still the guy, but Peterson has a 35% coach speak rating in terms of accuracy on what he says about players.
I love that Twitter account.
It's one of the best Twitter accounts.
Honestly, it's such advanced analytics. It's
I think I got to get on this Twitter account.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. So for those who aren't aware, it's I think it's called Coach Speak. It's a Twitter account. It analyzes coaches' quotes and comments about playing time and measures how accurate they are. So really, really good for the fantasy space. I agree with 15. I think we said 15, 20%. I saw it looks like last week in one of in the FAAB Lab site we use that looks at all the bids. I think the average bid was like 6.5%. That is doubling, if not tripling, for this week.
For sure.
Easily.
And I know we spoke about this guy earlier, Tyrone Tracy, 23% owned in Yahoo. That obviously jumped with the Singletary news last week. But I feel like it got only to 23% because people like me and others were worried on the road in Seattle, West Coast, that defense didn't think that, and he had a monster game. I know that I think it's Singletary. I don't think it's anything serious with him either. Like it could be a 1-game kind of absence. I think he did practice a little bit last week, but it decided to be, I think, more cautious with him. But like Tyrone Tracy, like you gotta pick up this guy, right? He looks the more explosive of the two. It could be a committee, but now Singletary's been injured. Raj, what do you think? What are you putting on Tracy?
Yeah, so you also have to factor in Malik Neighbors was out too.
Yeah.
Right, so I think they relied
Good
more
point.
on the running game. If Singletary was completely out, I know I overuse the word league winner a lot, but this no, but like it could have it could have league
Roger
winner
has 4 league winners. One of them is going to hit.
league winner
One of them
ish
is going to hit.
potential. Look, I think because Singletary is going to be back next game or the game after, like I think a modest 15 to 20% is a fair value. Hopefully, the coaching staff realizes that he's the better back, though.
Yeah, I'm leaning more on the 15% than 20, just because there's a lot more uncertainty when Singletary comes back. So I'm like, compare this to Tank Bigsby, where like he's had a role every single week, albeit small, and it just got bigger when they were both playing because Tank was outperforming. Tyrone Tracy, I think he's now created a role for himself, but it's going to be it's season-long play, and that might not shape out just because Singletary and then the relationship he already has with Dowdle and Shane and all that, right? So that's the only thing I wouldn't go beyond 15%, but that's just me.
Like this is if your running back room is really, really
it's
in the depths of despair.
Yeah. Like you're just gonna pick up a guy and then
throw a dart.
100%.
But I agree between that 15 to 20%, depending on what your running back room looks like. And then 2 guys, Alan Lazard. This is again a third straight week now with double-digit fantasy points. So doing good as a WR3/flex play every week, at least the last 3 weeks. As we mentioned in the pod, Rogers loves his guys. He's now 36% owned. What say you, FAAB? 3 straight weeks with double-digit fantasy points. Is it time to finally snatch him if he's still available?
I think so. Yeah. Like if you have the roster space for it, why not? Like it doesn't seem as if they're going to be leaning on the run all that much. It looks like as if Rodgers is going to want to throw. And that's sort of the concept that we got in the last 2 games at least. So he throws to his guys. He throws the guys that he likes. And to me, this is very much like a Darnell Mooney type play, right? Where it's not the guy that you would have thought that might be producing in this offense, but it turns out that it is. He got 18 targets in the last 2 games. That's not nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is going to be something to be there's a relationship there. So if you have space on your bench and you want to spend about 10% of your FAAB, because again, like temper your expectations, right? Like I know that there's been some consistency in the last 3 weeks of him getting at least 10 fantasy points per week. But you would hope that you have other options available for you. But I definitely think he's rosterable, and if you can spend 10% of your FAAB, do it.
Raj?
I'm gonna abstain. I don't want him.
He's just such an ugly name. Me too.
It's a high floor.
I gotta go get Lazard.
Guys,
I don't want him, man. Like I don't want him either. But
it's a high floor.
I know.
You know who would roster? You know who picks this player up and rosters him? Spiro, and he's gonna beat you with him 100%.
But you know what?
I know.
My issue is here too, though. My issue here is all these Davante Adams rumors. Like it drops him down a bit after, right? So you're gonna roster this guy. You're gonna be like, damn, I just paid for Lazard, and now Davante Adams.
Well, we just spoke about that, right? Even if they get Davante Adams, Lazard's still going to be in the offense. It's Garrett Wilson that's going to fall off a few pegs.
But there's just more mouths to feed. I'm just
this is a bye week replacement. Like this is a bye week replacement.
Yes,
you're not starting Lazard. No. Like
you should not be starting.
If your team, if you're starting all your wide receivers and they don't have buys, please do not put Lazard in your lineup.
He has a high ceiling. He has a high floor. Last 3 games, he's had at least 10 fantasy points. He has a high floor. He's not putting up single digits.
Well, look, the second wide receiver we have on the list is a little bit more flashy. I would say scored the winning touchdown last night. Bastard. Jalen Tolbert only 7%.
Little stingy there, Nacc, you okay?
Yesterday morning, he scored at like 1-8.
Hey, fun fact: Dak is the only player to throw an interception on 2 different days in the same game.
Wow!
Because his second interception was past midnight.
Also, fun fact: yesterday's slate of games was the longest day of football ever. Because it started at 9 a.m. and finished at.
That's a very nice
1:11, I think was the final whistle.
Yeah.
But so Jalen Tolbert, 7% owned, 21.7 fantasy points. He's reaping the benefits of Cooks being gone, but even with Cooks back, like Cooks is not the guy anymore. I think they finally found a nice wide receiver to complement to CeeDee Lamb, who, by all accounts, was kept pretty quiet last night. He had Joey Porter Jr. on him most of the night. Actually, intercepted a pass too. So um, I'm sure. I'm sure a Fab. I mean, Raj for sure likes Jalen Tolbert over Lazard. Like you'll go after this guy
Yeah,
more.
this feels Nacc. This feels a bit more sustainable. He has 2 TDs on the year. This is his second over 9 target game. His first was against the Saints in week 2. So to me, this is like a nice 15%. And this is a guy who, for sure, bye weeks, but I could see him even supplanting some WR3s that are current, like a Cortland Sutton, who I just dropped in my league. Right now, he's performing way better than Cortland Sutton. And there's
Mhm.
been scenarios where I've been wanting to start Cortland Sutton over like Jackson Smith and Jigba, or even Jameson Williams. So, and I'm a CD Lamb owner, and I've been following the Cowboys quite a bit. And I think there's a legit trust factor between Dak and Tolbert, which is good to see. So for me, this is like a 15%, and it's actually sustainable compared to Lazard.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with that. I think it's pretty. 15% sounds just about right.
I'll take the opposite, but that's fine. I think, hey, man, you want to talk about sustainability and targets. Alan Lazard has had 3 games with 8 or more targets, and he has 4 touchdowns. So
It's Alan
I think
Lazard,
3
though.
is more than 2.
I don't know. It's like what Nacc said. I don't get how in
Guys,
2024
you know what
Alan Lazard
we have to do?
is WR2. It doesn't make sense.
We have to do one of those
Like,
experiments where you take player A and player B, just put their stats, take out their name,
you're
and then you decide
you're
who
completely
chooses
right.
who. Who
Honestly,
Yes,
chooses
he
you're
who.
is. He's
exactly
right.
right.
He's 100% right about
I don't
that.
want to own it. I don't want to own him. Like,
And
I don't
guys,
want to own Alan Lazard.
for the record, I don't want to own Lazard either, and I like Tolbert because I do like how he did perform last night. But I think this is when Cooks comes back, you don't know how he's. I know he's on
Cooks
IR
is
there. Like
cooked.
there's a period of time
Cooks is
where he's going to be
cooked.
able to outplay him. But you give me these 2 guys right now. I'm looking at them. I'm like, take out their names. I'm picking Lazard. Like, oh yeah, look at that, so many targets last 2 games.
Fair. I'll call it
But
fair.
I would
Yep.
also put 10 to 15% down too, because for the rest of season output with Jalen Tolbert, like, yes, I am equally as bullish as you guys. Yes.
And just as a reminder, we have the Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Vikings who are going to be on bye. So the likes of Kyron Williams, Mostert, Aaron Jones, Hunt. There's Kelsey. The Dolphins wide receivers. You have Tyreek and Waddle. Vikings, Jefferson, and Addison are on bye. So a lot of big names going on bye in week 6. So now we get into quickly some players to get ahead of the curb. We have people like Jameis Winston. I mean, Deshaun has been completely awful. I think they're sticking with him, which to me, again, still doesn't make any sense. And I think the fan base is
Yeah, they're done.
completely not. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
over it at this time. So, I mean, if you really want to try to get him, I'm sure he's not going to cost you anything to get. And there's even O'Connell, AOC in Vegas. They have no idea what they're doing at quarterback. Pierce hasn't made a decision. I saw today there was he's saying, "Oh, we're still talking about that upstairs." I'm like, "Upstairs? Aren't you the coach? Like, what does upstairs have to do with any decision you're making on the field?" So again, that's one to monitor, but
That
you could probably
team's a
still get him for
dumpster fire.
for free.
Dumpster fire. That team.
Same thing with Russell Wilson. There's rumblings that he's healthy this week and might get the start. Again, I don't know how you change that 5 weeks into the year, going into week 6. But again, something to monitor. He's very old school and like don't lose your job to injury type deals. So something to monitor. Any of these running backs, Ty Chandler, Jalen Wright. I know both main backs are injured, but both these teams have buys. Like, are you
Yeah.
going to overpay to get ahead of the curve with these guys?
I think only Jalen Wright would interest me, to be honest with you. just because you don't really know what the sustainability is for the other injuries on that team. And I feel like every single Dolphins running back is always injured. Mind you, you could say the same about Aaron Jones.
He did pretty good in relief.
Yeah.
He had a decent game.
Those are stashes more than anything. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would like, yeah, maybe $1. But again, who do you drop after, right? And
Yeah,
And that's the
Chandler,
thing, especially during
that's the
bye
issue.
weeks too.
It's more
when
it's
you're-
difficult with bye week, so you have to have like you have to have a team like FAAB where he doesn't have injuries and he has the best
What are you
team.
talking about? I got 2 injuries this week, man. I got Nico Collins
I
and I
know
got
it's
Aaron
about time.
Jones.
It's about time.
And Aaron Rodgers has a low ankle sprain, which I didn't know existed until today.
It's because it's what you deserve.
It's a low ankle sprain. What about are there mid ankle sprains?
Yes, mid and high.
Is there like extra low ankle sprain? Oh, that'd be in your toe, right? Get it? Because it goes so low. Let's move on to cut the cord.
But maybe just Ty Chandler. That one I would monitor a bit more because Aaron Jones, because of the injury history.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But they just said they have a bye, so it's tough to pick up someone that doesn't have a game playing. And then I know there's Roman Wilson kind of there. It's his second game. He's back. He's fully healthy. Steelers need a wide receiver. Even with Pickens, they only played him 59% of the snaps last night. I don't know what's going on with the offense, but it looked pretty decent the first 3 weeks, and then the last 2 weeks it kind of it's gotten.
But Nacc, I'm going to ask you because you're obviously a Steelers fan. Is that a byproduct of having Justin Fields as your quarterback? Like, for example, let's
I
see
don't
if
think
Russell
so because
Wilson...
he's proven that he's not only taking care of the ball. He has one interception on the year, and it was a tipped ball.
Right.
And he has one fumble lost on the year, whereas like he had almost won a game every time he played with Chicago. He's taking care of the ball. He's making the throws. He's throwing to the middle of the field. I think they have an issue trusting him to throw a little bit more. And the running game is not gotten going. So I don't know why they're not throwing more. And I think, look, if Russell Wilson comes in and they can't trust him to throw, then it's just a byproduct of they're just going to ground and pound until they don't make the playoffs or just make the playoffs. Like,
that's a good point.
Feels like they miss Jalen Warren.
I was about to say that.
Big time.
Yeah, they need...
And Cordell Patterson, that looked pretty good running the ball a couple weeks ago. So, anyways, and just to end it off here, guys, some players that we have to cut the cord with. Isaiah Pacheco, I think, guys, it's time to say goodbye to this guy. I don't think he's coming back this year. And now with bye weeks, as we mentioned, it's going to be tough to keep him on your bench. Zeke, if people still have Zeke in your lineup, like I think
he's
it's
38
time to cut that.
Man, it doesn't make sense. 38%.
Yeah, I really don't know. Keon Coleman is probably a guy that everyone is hanging on to because he's had a couple touchdowns, a couple nice touchdowns, but he has nine receptions through 5 weeks, guys.
They're just not throwing it to him. Like
it's just not sustainable. It's not ready. It's not. He doesn't look ready. He does not look ready. He doesn't look ready at all. And I think he was forced into it because of the wide receiver core that they have.
Yeah.
This is the one I had a question for you guys. Like, Keenan Allen, what are you guys doing with him? Like, does he have a role in this offense? Is he going to get going with this offense, or is it time to get rid of this guy as well?
I would wait another week, just because it's Keenan Allen. But if it was insert player name here, he'd be gone already.
I think age is catching up to him.
This is a hold. This is a hold for me. I think they're ramping him up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think they're ramping him up.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe he makes the list next week. We'll see.
It's crazy where he was last year to where he is now, and we're talking about dropping this guy. That's nuts.
Yeah. Well, age catches up to you, man. It's crazy.
Last year was fucking lighting it up.
Yeah, he was. And what about Josivas? I think it's time to get rid of this guy. Higgins looks like he's on. Jamar Chase is on one. I don't think there's any room for this guy anymore.
He's the 2024 Tyler Boyd. Like when one of those guys goes out, then you get Andre Josivas and just pop him in there. That guy's name right?
Right. And Jamar Chase had his best games when Tyler Boyd was in the lineup, right? When all three of them were there, he used to have his best games. So maybe, yes, that's the role he's playing. And then last but not least, Juwan Jennings. Thank you for that week 3, whatever it was, 13 catches, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kittle back, Debo back. Ayuk finally went off, which was finally
Yeah.
it was
He was due, man.
6 weeks in. I think he was due, but
He
I
was
think
due.
with them solidified, I think
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings takes a little bit of a back seat.
Jennings needs to find a team next year because the guy's really good. I find he's really good.
He is good.
He's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good, man.
But
Those
if he finds
contested
a team,
catches.
yeah.
I feel like he stays there. I think they get rid of Debo next year. I think Debo's
Oh,
the odd
yeah.
man out because of
Oh yeah,
contract.
yeah, for
'Cause
sure.
he's much cheaper.
Yeah, from a
I
contract
feel like they
standpoint,
need a Debo at the wide receiver position that fills that Debo type role. I don't know if Purcell is that, but I feel they need that jack of all trades guy who could like receive the ball and run. But
Yeah,
TBD.
but with signing Ayuk and then they have to sign Purdy, and they just signed McCaffrey. They're just so cash strapped. There's talks of Kittle even being cut in the offseason
That's
because
crazy.
of
That's crazy.
casualty. Well, guys, that about wraps it up for our Sunday recap, winners, losers, and our waiver wire segments. So I just want to ask you guys once again to please follow us all over the socials and rate us, subscribe, like, comment everywhere. If you have any questions for us or any fantasy advice, please let us know anywhere. We'd be sure to answer all your questions. And I guess we will see you next time. Cue the music. Let's go. Hey, Kareem Hunt scored already tonight.
Oh, shoot, there's a game on.
I might have a chance of coming back. I might have a chance.
Kareem Hunt
You're
off the
gonna be
couch in your fantasy lineup.
Aren't you FF
in your
of the week
fantasy
right now?
championship game?
At the moment, I will be, yes.
Okay, you're against
But it's
me
not done.
on that.
Am I?
I'm at 138.
Roger, what's our matchup looking like?
Oh,
It's
close.
over. As is this podcast.
Oh, wow.
Done.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.